Thanks for listening to That Great Mank Pod. Please do us a massive favour and subscribe to this podcast. And if you can, leave us a review on iTunes. Both are a massive help, enabling us to promote the people and the great causes we champion to a much bigger audience. If you want to get in touch, give us a follow on Twitter at Great Mank Pod and drop us a DM. Cheers.
You're listening to That Great Mank Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, our kid.
So can you tell us a little bit about sort of where you were born, where you grew up?
Right, I was born on the 11th of August 1945, and I was brought up in a small mining village called Maltby in South Yorkshire.
Yeah.
It was a busy little place, obviously, with it being a mining village. And I can go back to them, to the miners, for their camaraderie there, because if they've all got like an institute, as they call the Miners' Institute. Well, if you go in there, it's just similar to coming here.
Yeah.
They're all talking about, for some of them was obviously in the war and that, and they used to talk about that. I went to a secondary modern school, no education at all, absolutely thick. That's why I went in the army. No, it's not actually. No,
we'll get them to put them on the recruiting posters.
Yeah. My first job, it was at a bath moulders, making. Right. They used to make cast iron baths. What a job that was! I left school when I was 14, and I started work on my 15th birthday, which was a Thursday. And I just couldn't believe what I got myself involved with at all. Yeah. Because obviously, you go to a furnace with a bucket on two wheels, a cast. And I used to pull it up with a chain, and the other guy used to steer it because it was on two wheels. And it was full of molten metal. God. And if the wheels caught on anything, it'd splash. There was no health and safety. Many a time I've gone home with half a shirt burnt, and my head, it used to burn my head. When they used to pour the metal into the mould, if something was wrong within the mould, it used to get a blowback, like a volcano going off. So you do a runner, but you're still getting. Oh, I hated it absolutely. And the guy I worked with, he was a bully, and I was 15, a little skinny 15-year-old kid. And some of the older guys said, "Why don't you hit him with something?" When he wasn't there.
Yeah.
He used to go and get my breakfast, go and do this, go and do that. And I just didn't want to go anymore. After about a week, I absolutely hated him with a passion.
Yeah, I can still see that, mate. I can still see that in your face there.
Honestly, he said, I said to him, "Oh, I've actually had a word with my dad about it." I said, "He's coming tomorrow." Anyway, until the next day, he wasn't in, he didn't turn in. So they put me working with somebody else. And they said, "Oh, what are you doing with me, laddie?" And I just said, "Well, Bella," that was the name of the guy, he's not in. Anyway, another guy who was talking to this fella said, "Who's that guy over there in the grey suit?" When I looked over, it was my father, so he had come in. I wasn't expecting him to, but he did. So that made it good. Anyway, the next job, it was at a brickyard.
Right.
And I don't really know anything about brickyards, especially the old-fashioned type. I'm going back now to the 60s. My job and this other kid, the brickyard backed onto a quarry. So all the rock type materials used to drop in a hopper, then up into where I used to work. It was a conveyor belt that used to throw into this room a big pile of grey type, dusty, rocky stuff. And in the middle of the floor was a round hole with a screw in it, so it used to draw it down, and it used to go then in mix with water, then come out in square sausages like in a machine. You used to chop it up into brick lengths and then cart it away. I hated it. I went home with my lips were thick with dust, my nostrils. Doing nothing. You didn't get no mask, no nothing at all.
God.
So I think I only did a couple of weeks on that. But you could get the job today and leave today and get another job tomorrow. That's what it was like. So it wasn't so bad. My third job, that was at coal mine.
Oh.
And but I wasn't allowed to go. I could go down underground while I was 15, but you wasn't allowed to go on the face. That's where obviously all the facemen get the cold, because it is a bit of a danger spot. So my job, with a couple of other new guys, was taking materials to the men on the face. You were like feeding them just timbers, wedges, blocks, wooden props, and all that sort of stuff. He kept them up. It was okay for them. It was a bit exciting because it was totally different, being underground or, it was 3/4 of a mile down, I think the shaft was, or near enough.
I was just going to say, how far down with it? That's a hell of a distance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I didn't realise until, someone told me that if there's ever an explosion at one end where we worked, we could actually get from Maltby underground to the nearest village, which was called Edlington. And we could come out of their pit if anything was wrong, but that was the only quick release. If anything happened, was this one pit. Yes. But now there's none left at all. No. I could name villages and that where there's nothing, and that was obviously through your Maggie when she had them all closed down.
Yeah,
me and Paul grew up here. I mean, I'm from Clayton, near where the Etihad is. Paul's from Moston. And mining was massive around there. You had Trafford pit and stuff like that. So
there was a Moston pit as well.
Yeah. So I mean, there was a big mining community around that area as well. But I was just thinking, mate. These kids now, the young ones, they go and do dangerous sports and things like that. Yeah, the things that you did in 3 jobs.
I know. They're all dirty, filthy, bloody. No wonder I've got COPD. As well as the smoking, So.
Well, yeah.
I've not smoked for 30 years, so.
Well, put it this way: my 15-year-old's still in bed.
Oh no, I wouldn't have a one like that, because I was. My childhood, I couldn't complain about anything. Although my mum and dad wasn't rich, obviously, just working at the mines. My mum used to do a little bit of job work, extra work, working in the fields, pea picking, potato picking. Turnip topping, cabbage topping, and all this sort of stuff. And that's where I had to go. I didn't have to go, but I did if I wanted to earn extra cash. Didn't get no pocket money. Very rare. If I wanted to go to the pitch, ask for the money, and they'd give it you. But then if I wanted any extra, I used to have to go in the fields myself to earn a copper or two. It was hard work and all for a young 12, 13-year-old kid, but it was a bit of fun as well, one story there, this pregnant woman, she had been in this field a week with us and working away, and then all of a sudden just heard a bit of the screams, and anyway, they all rushed over to this woman, and she had a baby in the pea field.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So as kids, we went running on. We knew everybody in this.
Yeah.
All the pickers, we knew them all. And they got somebody down and carted her off, carted her off to home, I should say.
Well, that's right. But I'm just going to say that those were the days, weren't it? It was like, now it'd be like, oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Those days it's like that.
Nobody
just pick it up. Yeah.
Nobody panicked, Anyway, from the mine, I chatted to a friend of mine walking through the way. I said, "Hiya, I've not seen you for a while." And I said, "What are you up to?" He said, "Well, I'm in the Merchant Navy." Oh, I said, "Hiya, what's it like?" Well, after he told me what it was like and what he'd seen, I was in. I went, joined up, and I only did a couple of years. It was okay, The first trip to sea was a 6-month ago. That's what hurt me. I joined when I was 17.
Right.
And oh God, that's 6 months. When I've done 2 months, I thought we'd done a year then. And I was so homesick. You know what I mean? And I didn't know anything about the sea, because we went to train for it. Obviously, went to Sharpness in Gloucester to a merchant service training school, and we used to do training on a ship that was based in the docks near this camp, and it was called the Vindicatrix. It's not there now. I went back to have a look, and the camp, it's just overgrown with brambles and hawthorn trees, and there's nothing there. But when I went to sea on my first trip, like I say, it was boring. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't go anywhere. It was either the mess room or the cook, where you get your food, the galley, and the mess room, and that was it. And it was boring. And then once I'd been on it, say, for about 4 months, I just started to get into it. But the place I've seen, I mean, the ship went around the world twice in 6 months, went to different countries. And the reason we did that is because they had a job going to America to pick up dried yellow corn, which then the Americans gave it to different countries. And we just went around dropping that off and moving from country to country to country. And then after that, I just went on leave. And then after you'd done your 2 weeks leave, you're expecting a telegram to say there was a ship available. But if there wasn't a ship available, I used to have to sign on to the youth unemployment. And they could put you with a builder or send you to a farm working, but that was okay. Just give you a bit of money, When I was on my first trip, every time we went into a port, you draw money out of the ship's pay. Anyway, I was always drawing money out every time, and the skipper got hold of me and he said, "Look, you're gonna have to stop drawing too much money, or when it comes to the day you pay off, you'll hardly have anything left." This is after 6 months, anyway. But when I got my final paycheck, it was £53 and so many pennies. Right now, that don't seem very much, but then that was equivalent of 530 quid. Well, to me, 530 quid in the 60s, it was 530 quid, but it was only anyway. When I gave my mum half, and I said, "There you go." And I give her this, about 250 quid or whatever, 25 quid. And she said, "God, I've never had as much money as this at one time in my life."
Wow.
And I felt good, because I was giving her loads of, what I thought was loads. Anyway, I went on and I'd done a few more trips. They were all okay, but I only did short ones. And a guy said, "Why don't you try doing what they call home trade? They're just small ships." So I did. And I got on a ship with the company called Everett, and the ship was called a Simultaneity. It was only a small cargo ship, and maybe 800 ton. That's all it weighed. Anyway, I actually happened to fall down the hold on the ship. We're on the beams what go across the cargo holds.
Yeah.
They put boards on so they can put a tarpaulin on. And I was with this other guy. He was stood at one side of the opening on a beam, and I was, and you have a steel hook which you hook into a small handle on the board, lift it up and stack them. And as I went and lifted it up, fell down, went down, and I didn't know anything. So anyway, I came round and I thought I broke my back. And the young lad who I was with, thank God he wasn't panicking at all. He rolled me a cigarette and says, "Here, have that." And anyway, I thought, that's going to make me feel, and I was crying because of my back. I says, "Is my mother here yet?" I thought I'd sent for my mother. Oh, it was horrible.
How far did you fall?
It was about, I was only thinking the other day, actually. I thought about 20 feet. 20 feet onto solid timber decking. It's better than metal, I suppose. But I didn't really feel, I never felt anything when I fell. I didn't feel myself hit the bottom. I felt pain in my right wrist, and I felt on my back. I thought I broke my back. I said to the young lad, "I broke my back." The next person to come down the hole was a policeman. Second one, a fireman, and then the fireman, an ambulanceman. And they lowered this cable down with a hook on it, and they had a wrap-round stretcher. They just wrapped it round me and hoisted me out of the hold with this crane, and onto the dockside, onto a stretcher, then into the back of the ambulance. And I'm laughing because it was one of those white ambulances. And obviously, when you've had an accident, like it's an emergency run to Newcastle to the Royal Infirmary.
Yeah.
And it was a bell, ding, 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 ding. And I was laughing. And Anyway, I says to this young copper, I says, "Well, give us a cig." He said, "Oh, I can't be doing things like that." Anyway, he said, "Do you feel?" I said, "No, I think I broke my back." He says, "Why?" I said, "I can't feel anything." Anyway, when I got to the hospital, there's a team waiting. I don't know how they communicate to the hospital.
Yeah.
There was no radio, so whether it was
that was a fast pigeon.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. Anyway, there was a team waiting. You got cut all your clothes off and all that. Anyway, she was asking me what I think. I said that to her, like this doctor. I says, "I think I've broke my back." Anyway, after she finished examining, she said, "Well, I can tell you've not broken your back. The only thing I can see you've damaged, you've broken your wrist. And you've broke some little bones in the back of your hands, but they will heal themselves." And she said, "When at some time before you came into the Merchant Navy or whatever, have you done judo?" And I said, "Well, I did actually. I did at a youth club." And she said, "Well, it's when you see blokes get thrown and you see them slap their hands down. Well, that's what you do, just to about cushioning the impact." And that's how I cracked the bones in my hand, but they did heal up pretty quick. A bit of physio on my wrist, and a couple of months later, I was back to sea. I was a bit frightened of going back to sea, but I did.
John in the army must have been like a holiday.
Well,
all the stuff that you've done.
I know it's like I was saying to me. This is a while ago. I was saying to me why I was telling my wife about the incident when she already knew, but I went into it a bit more detail when I was talking to her about it. And she said, "Why do you always get these stupid jobs? So you don't know they're stupid until you start them, do you, really?" But anyway, so I got out. I didn't stay in too long. It was just over 2 years, I think. I can't remember properly. Anyway, there were just short trips that I was doing, and because I didn't want to do any more long trips after the first one. Anyway, I was sat reading the Radio Times in bed, and I saw a snippet on the bottom back page of it, join the professionals. So I thought, I'm going to go in the army. So I told my mum, and she said, "Oh, you're not here." Oh God, I just had a nightmare with being in the Merchant Navy. Anyway, I went in, and I loved it. From when I swear by all this, and I signed on that dotted line, I loved it all the time. I just everything about it, and the training did at Svensel near York, and I absolutely loved it.
Who did you join? What regiment did you join, John?
Well, they give you choices, and I chose, with being a Yorkshire lad, I thought, I'll go in the York and Lancaster regiment, and I was accepted and went into them. And after the training at Svensel, I joined them in Cyprus in 1965. And it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And I'd not been in the as a rifleman, I'd not been in long. And they said, "Right, you're going in the anti-tank platoon." So I don't want to go in there. I don't know nothing about tanks. They said, "No, it's just you're going in."
Yeah.
So I went in the booming anti-tank platoon, and it was better than being a rifleman. It really was. It was much more interesting. You were aiming at bigger things, like,
literally.
120 millimeter Mobat on the range, firing at a chieftain tank, and I hit this tank just underneath the turret. Friendly fire, by the way, and it hit this tank right under the turret, and it blew the turret clean off, as though from 800 yards, it looked like somebody thrown a frying pan up in the air, and you could see it coming down. It seemed and it hit barrel first. So after you fired, and everything's quieting down, you can go and see what damage you've done. You can't believe the round that actually flies through the air is maybe 18 inches long, or maybe a bit less. The thing you put in the gun is about 2 foot. And the damage this Hesh round can do is unbelievable. And I love that sort of thing. When I see other tanks when they've been hit on the tracks, and the tracks have just been thrown away like kids' plastic toys. It's unbelievable,
But just quick, when you were in Cyprus, then was that before it all kicked off, for want of a better phrase.
In the 60s, it was a time when, with troops being there and also the RAF there, there was a lot of married personnel, families. Our job, if anything ever happened, was to get the families out as quick as possible to the airport and away. And we used to have to practice that every 6 months, or maybe less than 6 months. And what else? The EOKA, you heard of the EOKA in Cyprus? Yeah, well, they were still doing little bits of trouble here and there, but luckily we never got involved. All through my army career, I only did 6 years, but all the army career, I was never involved with any sort of, you shoot me, I'll shoot you type of thing. I'm so lucky that when I joined, it was the best time to join. And that, with being in this veterans now, some of the things I hear, and you talk to guys that are still, well, it's all, you've been told about lads, that stuff. It's absolutely horrific. And when they say, you're with your best mate, or you sat in the pub with drank away, you joined the army together, and you're on a patrol, and he steps on an IED and he's gone, he's finished. To see that happen to your best mate must be horrific. It must be. So we never had any of that. Well, I didn't anyway. The only thing we did, we had to be careful in Cyprus, like I said, with this EOKA business. We used to have to do patrols at certain places. There was a lot of the fresh water that they have in Cyprus is through desalination. And there's desalination plants. And over the old plant, like a wire netting fence, it covers the whole thing. It's anti-grenade netting.
All right.
And you used to have to do guard duties on there. There was big ammunition compounds in Decalia. We had to do a 4-hour watch on, 4 off, 4 on. And they used to have, like the towers they have in prisoner of war camps, these big wooden towers. There was these big lights. And we used to have to trail them up and down the fence all night, backwards and forwards. And for a bit of fun, if your mate was over in the top right-hand corner, he'd put his beam up, and we'd put them up in the sky, and we'd cross them like this. And that this lad used to shout, "Yay for Scotland!" things like that. If you could get away, you could, as soon as that, you'd hear the blooming phone going, and think, "Get them bloody lights down, get them back on the fence." It used to be a good bit of fun.
So is this manning the border between the Turkey side and the Greek side?
Yeah, they weren't too bad, really, because obviously they had the Greek army was there, Turkish army was there, and we was there, and you had the Swedish guys there up in the hills and on the border from the
United Nations, would it be?
United Nations, yeah, sorry, yeah. And honestly, it was so quiet. You could pass through a barrier, red and white one, and there was a young kid with a Sten gun. Open the barrier, let you through, close it. And then you a bit further down, you come to a Greek one, same thing. A young bloke, maybe not just a kid. Same thing, machine gun, open the barrier, let you through, barrier down. They talk to you, and they talk to each other. When you used to go like in the town at night for a drink into the bars, there were Turkish and Greek Cypriots in the bar, talking to each other, best of friends. I got to know a guy when I went on holiday to Cyprus, and we went to a place called Polis. And I got friendly with this guy, Greek guy, and he married a Geordie girl years ago, and he'd been there for some time. And he said, my best friends, most of my best friends were Turkish. He says, I'm Greek, but they were my best friends. And he said, it wasn't the Greeks and Turks on the island. It was the Turks from Turkey. Oh, used to make all the trouble that was on. Like when it did go off, it was Turkey that started that off, definitely. And you get to know quite a few of the locals. They tell you lots of stuff. you know, I mean, I don't want to go into it because it doesn't mean anything now. And yeah, I'm just trying to think now because.
No, I mean it's terrible when you you've seen that firsthand where it's the politics in the capitals that's causing the problem, but the local community haven't got an issue with each other, have they, John?
Well, it is. That's why I'm thinking. Then I'm not getting really upset, but some of the things that they used to tell you, it just upsets you. And anyway, I'll finish with Cyprus because there's not much to tell there now. And then from Cyprus, we went to North Weald in Epping. And we went there more or less for a rest period type of thing before they decided what they were going to do. But unknown to everybody in the battalion, that behind locked doors, they were going to disband the Oaken Lanks. And they told us about it. And they said, you can apply to go to another regiment of choice. You can have a choice of two. So I chose the Duke of Wellington Regiment or the Green Howards. And I managed to get the Duke of Wellington Regiment, and they were based in Hong Kong. Anyway, I obviously went out to Hong Kong and joined them there. It was brilliant there. Brilliant. The only problem with it for us, it was supposed to have been a semi-active service posting because one of the duties was up on the Chinese border. And it could be a bit scary up there because what we had was a big concrete, say, like like when you go under these underpasses to go under the road. It was like one of those. At one end, there was a door, how you got in. At the other end was a steel ladder into a small, compact little room with a concrete bench and binoculars on a stand. And you sat in this chair, on the Chinese border. And it wasn't that far away, maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away. But these binoculars were, in the time, they were brilliant. And you had to write everything down, what you saw, what the cap badges they had on, what colour uniform, if they had piping, that different coloured white piping around the top of the hats, or what emblems they had on the jackets. But now and again, you'd see them and they'd pull the rifle up to the. So when you're looking at them, it looks as though they're going to take a pot shot at you. You have to report that immediately, like, we've all got a radio. We just say, weapons being pointed over from the border, and then you get one of the officers come up, see what you wrote down and all this. And you don't ever retaliate, though. You wouldn't pick yours up because obviously they're doing the same to you as what you are doing to them.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's supposed to know that the Duke of Wellington were going up onto the border. And once you get settled, these loudspeakers they have all the time blaring on, it said, "Welcome to the Duke of Wellington Regiment on our border."
Yeah.
Nobody's supposed to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another one was where we were on this little rooftop on this market, and you had to keep an eye on the market. We had to patrol down the market. And we were feared that they could just pull a weapon from underneath the stalls, like. And so you used to make it as quick as possible, this patrol, and then back behind the sandbank pillbox type things, up on blocks of flats, keeping a lookout. It was but when I think of what some of our guys are doing now in Iraq, and I was like you say, it was like a picnic to what and that's. I couldn't do it today. I would definitely not do it today.
You know what, John? We mentioned this in one of the, I think it may have been Tony we spoke to last week, and it's when you say join the army and see the world, and when I was young, obviously this would be when I could have joined would be 87, 88.
Yeah.
So you had Northern Ireland was really the hot spot at that particular time, and that probably stopped me joining. But I think to be able to join and serve and actually see the world and not be in those kind of hot conflicts is, I'll be honest, it's great. is to be able to do that, because I won't want my kids going anywhere near the armed forces at the moment, and not for a long, long time. So when you got what was on the poster, which was to see the world, all the camaraderie, still do a really, really important role, and not get involved in all the, and it is all political, and you're talking about Cyprus and Turkey. It's not the people, it's the decisions made in rooms, isn't it? I just think it's. What do you think about? And I'm just curious, with you serving in Hong Kong. I mean, obviously the situation you've got there now, which is pretty horrendous. In fact, we're getting a lot of. I live in Sale, well, just down the road from where you are now, and we've got a really, really large community now of Hong Kong community who've obviously British passports, come over here, settled in and around Sale, because they were given the option.
How do you find them though? How do you find the people?
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It certainly in terms of how they're getting involved with the community. It's not just an insular thing. They're getting out and about, getting involved in all sorts. So it's great to see. And listen, they've got a British passport, so they've given the option to come over in, and they've come over here, which is great. But it's just the situation over there now. You were over there for how long? Were you in Hong Kong for?
2 years.
2 years. So
yeah.
And then you look at obviously gave it back to the Chinese, and now it just seems to be reverted to just civil war, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. They didn't. The guys on Hong Kong side, they didn't want China to take over.
No, but
they were saying that to us when we were there, because in the main town in Hong Kong, well, near what we call Victoria, you walked through the town anytime and go in a bar, what you think's a bar, when you get in, it's a pub. It's just like a pub at home. And they talk to you as though you're one of the boys, type of thing. They don't talk like the Chinese. They talk Chinese language, but even the accent, the Chinese accent, is not very strong there, because they've been living with the Brits for years and years and years in Hong Kong.
Picked up all our bad habits.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't want. Honestly, they used to say to it, because we used to say, we're going up on the border, or keep them bloody Chinese out, we don't want them coming down here, type of thing. But they look the same, speak the same, but And anyway, I'm saying I wouldn't like to be in now, but if my first wife left me when I was in Hong Kong, and I'm not been married long, but and I was told never get married when you're in the bloody army. It never works out. Anyway, when that happened, my company commander, he said the best thing you can do, if you want to save your marriage, leave the army. Don't stay in the army, because you will not save your marriage. And so I got out. But the colonel of the regiment, he wasn't going to let me out. He said no. He knew that in my background from somewhere that I liked to get involved with small arms. And he said, why don't we send him to Oswestry, near Wales, I think it is, to on a small arms training course, so he, meaning me, can become a training instructor. Oh, and I thought, God, that'd be my job. I'd love that job. But I just wanted to get out because of me. Anyway, when I've been out, I've been trying to contact a guy who I used to knock about with out there, and he lived in Barnsley. I contacted him, and anyway, when the Dukes left Hong Kong, they went to Ireland, and two of the guys, they weren't buddies, they were friends, but not. And they both got killed in Ireland, both got shot. And that is, I'm glad I got out when I did, because I wouldn't have liked that bit at all. There's no way that I would have shot an Irish bloke. It's like shooting your bloody neighbour,
They're
all the same. But hear the stories. And
I mean, our charities are a mental health charity, and obviously there's more talk about mental health now than what there has ever been. But men of a certain vintage like us are not great at talking about it. But in terms of your service, and obviously if you want to talk about this, talk about it. If you don't. But do you think it had any kind of impact on your mental health, and how did you deal with it when you were in the services?
Well, with not being in as we used to call it, as active service, it wasn't that bad. Like I say, the nearest we got was like on the border in China and in the town centre, because we used to have to patrol the centre. Oh, I didn't tell you, our job in Hong Kong was to help the civilian law, and it got a bit political sometimes. But I mean, as far as for the lads, it was okay, So it didn't affect me really in that sense. No, it didn't. I just can't believe that I did all what I did and saw what I saw, and not a shot was fired in anger, like, you know what I mean. I just thank God I went in at the right time,
That would be, if someone could get. I'll be honest, if someone could guarantee me that, I would have joined.
Well,
I admit, because
yeah.
I don't think. I mean, you don't know until you're involved in that. I get that, and I've got lots of people, lots of friends who've served, and I know. But yeah, I mean, the traveling and the camaraderie. That's the thing the one thing that has kind of stuck with me about not joining the army and not going through with it is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And that ongoing, you get it, and I've got it in different fields, but it's not. It's just different. I think when you've served in any of those, and I see it in even my mates who were prison officers for 30 years. The crap they have to deal with day in, day out, and there is that really, really strong bond.
Yeah, I actually applied to get into the prison service, but like I say, my education let me. See, I can't. It's like I've got what people with reading, what they call people that can't read properly. They've got
dyslexia.
Dyslexia. Well, it's with numbers. If you said to me, right, a number, say 70, take 10 away. Say no, not 10. That's quite easy. Take 7 away. I can't see that. Now, when I'm thinking, all the numbers are just swelling around in my head, and I've always been like that, and it's always let me down. I mean, I used to play darts, and at the time, a member of the team could tell you what your scores, what you wanted. I got quite good at that, always have been. And I got earmarked by the Whitbread Trophy people who was in did you know the Moulin Rouge in Stratford?
I do.
In darts, tap on my shoulder after I'd finished playing my match. And I turned around to a woman there with a clipboard. She says, I've been eyeballing you now. This is the 4th time. And I think you stand a good chance of getting in the Whitbread Trophy. I said, I'll stop you. I can't subtract. Oh, she said, I don't believe it. And that's, what a nice thing to have had to get on that bloody stage and get all that money they get,
Oh, you'd have gone crazy with it all, wouldn't you? All that money and fame.
Yeah, you can't. It felt so. And I used to try and subtract because I used to practice. I was unemployed at the time, so I had plenty of time to practice. And I could spend 7 hours on double 16, just throwing at double 16. I used to try and get it with the first arrow every time. And it nearly happened. So when I was playing, they all knew, and they'd bring me down. Knew my finish was double 16, whereas I couldn't subtract down to that level. No chance.
What? How did you come across Trafford Veterans?
Well, my wife said, "Oh, have you seen this?" It was on Facebook, and the church in Urmston, I can't remember the name of the bloody church. Oh, St. Clement's.
Oh, yeah.
They're taking coffee for people to call in they'd have a sandwich and a biscuit and type thing. And there was a piece on about the veterans in Clare and that. And she said, why don't we go there? Because it said, find out your army records, blah, 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 family army records. I went in and who was sat there? Claire. I didn't know her. I just got chatting to her and she says, well, this is what we do. And he says, we have a breakfast, every Saturday in one Saturday in the month, blah, 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 blah. And so I'll call. Anyway, when I realised what work she was doing, I loved it. I wanted to get involved in, and I've been on a few when you I do find it difficult sometimes to think about things. What I want to say on when you go
some social trips and.
Well, no, I'm not bothered about that. But when you put a stand up and it's what they call a bucket word, donation things like
Yeah.
And I've been on a few of them, and I love it. And then, people come up to you and and they're asking questions. And I say to them, "Have you served?" Yeah, I was in the army. How long was you in for? Oh, 15 years. When? Chatting to them, I said, "Have you got your veterans?" No, I haven't got one. You want to apply for one, and then we've got all the paperwork, the addresses where they can send off to get the veterans badge. Was your father in or your brother's in? Yeah, my dad was in. Have you got anything? You know anything about him? No, he never said anything to us about the army. Well, you want to know where he was in his army career?
Someone did that for my granddad.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, and we got his badge, which I've got downstairs. Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy Claire was telling him about not so long ago. He got medals at home, and the family had put all their own ribbons on the medals, and Chris and Claire sorted the ribbons out for him for the medals and all that. And I mean, now he could put them on Remembrance Day. He'd be chuffed. He's probably in his 70s, I think, he was 80s or something. So he'd be chuffed with us. I didn't see it. We didn't get anything like that. No medals at all because we were in the shit, as they say.
What do you think Trafford Veterans has done for you personally? I know that's quite a big question.
I've always wanted to get involved. Well, I'll go back to when 2000 and 2010. Got diagnosed with melanoma on my shoulder. I went to Trafford. The doctor looked at it and he went, right, okay then. That's fine, he said. He walked away and I thought, I'm going to find out what he means. So I went up to him and I said, what do you mean it's fine? Oh, he says, I'm sorry. He says, I'm just miles and miles away. He says, and I said, well, I'm not. I'm here with you. Like, says, what's wrong? He says, well, Mr. Everett, he says, you've got melanoma on your shoulder. If you don't get it removed, he said, you won't be with us much longer. He told me straight. So then I heard him in the office say, I want this man in Christie's within a week or less, if possible. So I went and had it taken away. And then about 2016, I found out I had prostate cancer. So and that's when you need when they come out, my son, he was great. He says, oh, Dad, you've got rid of it once, you'll do it again. I said, yeah, it depends how far it's gone. My daughter said she went to work, she stood in the corridor and she just screamed, my dad's got effing cancer again. She was all upset because I had to phone up to let her know, but luckily, I'm on the road to recovery. I mean, I've been, 6 years now. You just send a blood test in and if the blood count's low, well then, if it keeps going lower or it stays the same. But I don't know how long I'll keep going back for these blood tests. But when you've realised what Trafford Veterans are doing for other people, not me, because I'd already sorted it all out. But even though I haven't got problems now, You say something, straight onto it, and they'll chat to you about absolutely anything. And that's what I like. I'm listening all the time. I want to learn more because I want to try and help more, you know what I mean? But I'm enjoying my life at the minute. I'm not overly worried about the prostate business because when I got diagnosed, the main guy at Christie's, he said, "You're lucky you've caught it, you know, at the beginning. And if you get low grade cancer cells, the low grade, you've got a better chance of, you know, getting through it all."
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm talking,
All right, mate.
oh, yeah.
John, just take a minute, mate. There's no pressure at all.
I mean, I've known people who's had it and who died from it.
Mm.
It's not just feel lucky. And if you've got a good, oh, geez.
John, my mum's been through cancer twice. She had breast cancer when I was in my 20s. I'm 53 now. I nursed her through that. And then she had another couple of years ago, and she's through that, and she's got the all clear. You know, in the past, these things had been it. Whereas, like I say, my mum's had it twice now, and they've managed to sort it out for her.
I know, it's horrific. I mean, it's horrible for especially young families, isn't it? You can't. Oh, I mean, when you go to the waiting room at Christie's, there was a guy there reading a paper, and he shouted his name, and he dropped the paper like that, and all I could see were two slots there where his nose used to be.
Mm-hmm.
God, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Well, I looked and turned away. I couldn't, just to let him know that I wasn't staring at him. But it was, and you turn and you look at somebody else, and they've got a blooming ear missing, and oh God, it's bloody awful. But you just
listen. We've got Christie's. My dad has myeloma, and he's treated it at Oldham. Gets amazing treatment, and you know my dad's 80, and you know when you take him there and you see some of the younger, and he's fighting it and he's doing okay, but you see people there. I mean, I'm 53, Damo's 53, and you see people a lot younger, and you do, but you know. I like to think there's a reason why, you know, you've got it and you recovered the first time and you're going through it now. Because listen, I've only talked to you for an hour. I think you're a top bloke.
Listen, you know, if say I was going through the cancer thing at an early stage and I was here now. They hear that, you know, this place would help you out anyway they can, whether it's they just talk to you or whatever. But I have sussed out that you think now when you're in a pub and you see somebody keep getting up all the time going to the toilet and you don't know them, you think, bloody hell, they want to go and get a test done because that is the first bloody sign. My son-in-law, even if drinking tea, he's always going to the loo. And I just said to Jane, has he himself checked? He said he was going to see about it because of me, like, you know, but whether he has or not, I'm not going to pressurize him because if you pressurize people, you know, you're just wasting your time. You've got to let them come to you or whatever. But,
it's a massive issue. Listen, sorry, Dame, I was just going to say, I'm sure people will listen to this. And, you know, if one person listens to this and thinks, actually, yeah, I'll go to the toilet more than they should be and go and gets tested.
You know them little silver blokes? You get where
badges.
I used to walk about with mine on when I first found out I got it. You can see people look at it and then they look at me and they look away. But then do they do something about it after they've seen you with a badge on. And I think that's what they for, them badges, Well, they are to let people know if you see them, and they do something about it. I mean, I used to knock about with a guy when I worked at the airport when I was on security. Not security for the airport, it was for a private company. And he was the electrician there. And when I had that melanoma, I told him, and he said, "No, I've got a brown lump on my side. I'll go and get it checked." Nothing wrong, it was fine. Mm-hmm. So every time he gets to it, he said, "I wish you hadn't told me that." Every time I see a little spot, he said, "I'm getting it checked out." I said, "Well, that's how you get found out. That's how it gets found out whether you've got cancer or not. You've got to do with these things. Don't just, that's why they keep blurting it out now and telling you that breast cancer again's back on the. They've got to go. My mum had a breast off when I first came out of the army, really. So, it's not because my mum had breast cancer that I've got cancer. It didn't work like that. No. But if your mum's got breast cancer, you can get breast cancer yourself because your mother's had breast cancer. Yeah. It's very rarely happens, but you can.
Well, John, I went and got asked for a test because one of our earlier podcasts that we've actually done on this and the Great Man Pod was a guy called Tony Collier who lives in Altrincham. And he's got terminal prostate cancer, but he's dedicated his whole life to raising profile and encouraging people to go for tests. He does, when they do paint Altrincham blue?
Yeah.
Well, he's the guy behind that. Tony's a top bloke, and he's out there all the time promoting that people get tests. I mean, he's doing well. He's gone past what they said, but he keeps himself healthy. He organises running clubs. He does, but it's all around giving people that support, but highlighting it. He does talks everywhere, but I mean, he's one of our very early episodes of this was with Tony talking about the journey that he's been through and the work he does. So there's some fantastic people out there promoting and encouraging people to go and get tests.
Yeah. I mean, once you have that radiotherapy, that because before you go for it, you have to have 2 injections. It's female hormones you have to be injected with, and you can get what do you call it? Sweats, the sweats what women get and all that.
Oh yeah.
I lost the hairs on my legs, itchy nipples. My daughter says, "Oh, she can make fun out of anything. It cheers you up though." And she says, "You just want to make sure you don't start going on your periods." She says, but she says, "I've got plenty of what you need." She says, "In my bag at any time, so you're all right." And that you'd see the light of it in that way. But I'd just be sat in a pub with my wife and some friends, and I'd just start crying. But you can't help that. You can't stop it. It just comes and goes so quickly. And then once you've had when you first go before you have the radiotherapy, they put you on another monitor, and it looks at your prostate. So the guy that's with you, you have they say 3 tattoos. It's one on both hips. They line you up on this machine, and he said, "You'll feel a prick." He says that is just a needle and some Indian ink. And he said, "I'm putting a small." We called them tattoos, like one here and one on the other side, and one on your pubic area. He said, "So anything you get a relapse or something, and you have to go again, you don't have to go through all that. You just can go straight into a radiotherapy, and they can line the machine up straight away on you because the marks are still. And you have them forever, these marks." And I say, I said, "I've had a tattoo on my hip. You want to have a look at it?" And I just looked up in my pants down. I said, "Look." She says, "What?" I said, "That black dot there." "That's not a tattoo." I says, "They call them tattoos." Look, so it's a tattoo. And I've got tattoos on my arm, so as you're saying, "Oh,
Oh dear."
But I mean, with this, I really am glad because I was getting to a stage where I was just sitting at home. I mean, I do a bit of DIY. do a bit of carving like Tony. Tony Williamson. He does
lovely bloke.
carving and bits and bobs. But we both joined this. He's just coming now. I've just seen him on the monitor, and we both joined this club. I mean, I've got to bloody Tony £70 now, but loads of blooming grinding bits for the wood, and all this rubbish. So, yeah, and I want to get more into it because I want to do more for other people, as well. So I love what you're doing, listening to other people. I think it's great. I really do. But this getting upset, like I said to my wife, she said to me this morning, I don't start crying because I'm a very emotional fella. I always have been. I used to cry over the Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, but anything happened to them kids, when that the eldest one got blind, oh Christ!
So did I.
Oh,
there's something. That's a podcast all on its own. But it's as I've got older, mate. Honestly, I mean, I've always been quite emotional, but I can be watching stuff now, and I think 3 kids and stuff like that, and I can feel myself filling up. But mate, I
oh man, this great. It just looks round at me because she's doesn't get upset at things, but I make that connection with me. It's like the end of Cocoon where the kid's saying ta-ra to his grandparents, but I immediately make the connection with my grandparents, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I could be sat there sobbing at the end of a program like that. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Me father, he was in the army. I think that's why I went in the army. Never talked to me about it at all, not a thing. My grandfather, he was in the Boer War, First World War.
Wow.
And he actually, the Black and Tans in Ireland, he went over to Ireland. But the story was him and about 12 of his friends, if they were ever told to go and do something, they went, but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't harm anybody at all. And he was glad when there was a bit of a lull and they managed to come out of Ireland. And I noticed in his little box he used to have, there was a ribbon, and it's an Irish colours, but then he had that in his little box. But the medal, they must have given that to one of his bloody son-in-laws or something. But I always wanted it, all his medals, but I don't know how many he had because they were scattered all over the place, I think. And my daddy was the same. He just had them from Burma,
Burma, wow.
I wish they'd have told me about what they went through, if anything. I really do, because it's like you want to know these things so you can help other people.
Yeah, my granddad was on. He used to drive MTB boats on the convoys.
Yeah,
all over the world, Russia, India, things like that. And he never talked about anything. He'd seen some horrendous things. He'd seen some of the ships go down and things like that. Never wanted to talk about it. But that's that. You respect that choice. Do you know what I mean?
I once at a crossing on the side of the road, and there was a lad sat in a wheelchair, no legs and no arms, and I couldn't stop looking at him, but thinking to myself, I wonder what happened. Well, obviously, the obvious thing probably happened to him. And anyway, it says, these bloody lights are staying on a long time. I want to get over the other side of the road. I said, do you want a lift? He said, no, I don't want a lift. I'm all right. He just got a stump here on his right arm, and the lever was up further up. And it was okay, well, I'm saying okay. What can you do? It's horrific.
Listen, when you walk around now and you see an awful lot, you see it, certainly if you're in Manchester or around about, you see young men generally, and you'll see them with the prosthetic arms or the prosthetic legs or two prosthetic legs. And even when my kids were younger and going back that long, no one looks twice now, which is
no.
It's really weird in a way, because we should be looking. I don't mean looking at them, but we should be. What's going on?
Yeah.
But but I'm sure they get, and John, it's been really, really, and I shouldn't, because we've gone over everything, we've talked about everything, and I've really enjoyed it, mate. I've really enjoyed chatting to you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
And I think that, you're a lovely bloke.
If you see anybody that keeps going for a pee, I'll have to go for a test.
Well, 100%. In fact, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I need to stop this podcast now. But I've not had a weed today, so it should be all right. But listen, thanks so much, John.
Okay, no problem.
John, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, nice speaking to you both. It really has.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, then. Hope to speak to you again soon. Never know.
Oh, I'll see you soon. I'm going to be over at Trafford Vets a lot more, so I'll see you there.
Yeah. Okay then. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, then. I'm sure we'll meet up, John. But massive good luck, mate.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to That Great Mank Pod. Please do us a massive favour and subscribe to this podcast. And if you can, leave us a review on iTunes. Both are a massive help, enabling us to promote the people and the great causes we champion to a much bigger audience. If you want to get in touch, give us a follow on Twitter at Great Mank Pod and drop us a DM. Cheers.
You're listening to That Great Mank Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, our kid.